everyone, and welcome to the Shift Happens F1 podcast. I'm Elena.
And I'm Ariana.
And today we will be talking about the very first race of the 2023 Formula One season, Bahrain. But before we do that, I want to quickly explain what this podcast will be about and why we decided to make it. So 2.5 years ago, I discovered the wonderful world of Formula One, and since then I've been hooked. I am someone who annoys my friends constantly talking about it, and in return they like to tease me about making spreadsheets and whatnot. I'm a diehard Tifosi and probably and most likely will cry the day Leclerc wins the World Championship. Who knows when that will happen? Probably not this year.
I was going to say, that is not your best timing considering the results of the last race, but that being said, I wanted to start this podcast because I'm eager to learn more about Formula One, and I like hanging out with Elena. I love all things fast and have been going to races for as long as I can remember. My dad is a race car driver. Shout out to Andrew for predicting I would say this. Prior to meeting Elena, I was only knowledgeable about American muscle and some JDM. My knowledge ended in drag racing. Elena encouraged me to expand my love for cars into the European racing universe.
Okay, so now the sappy stuff is out of the way. Today we'll be going over the Bahrain race, our race predictions, and then answering some of Ariana's questions, since seeing she knows nothing about it, and I made her watch her very first race.
Absolutely nothing.
She had a lot of questions.
I've watched season 1 and 5 of Drive to Survive, and I have read some articles. And that is the extent of my knowledge.
Okay, so now on to the first part of the podcast, the race review. So Bahrain was honestly relatively a pretty straightforward race. There weren't any red flags. There was like one yellow flag, I think, about in the beginning of it. But I think my biggest takeaway from this race was Fernando Alonso on the podium.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching the race during a church service, which you can argue the ethical and moral stipulations of that, but it was a pretty good race to watch and to like follow the results on. Pretty straightforward for like my first race to actually be following. I think my biggest like takeaway was Logan Sargent, go America. Yes.
Oh my god,
he moved quite a bit up.
Yeah, you're a Logie Sarge fan.
Wasn't he at like P9?
No,
I thought he was
Pierre Gasly.
Ugh. Well, he finished in 12th, which isn't bad.
No, that's a great...
And he has a bad car in comparison to all the other ones.
He did a great job for his very first race to end up in P12. But back onto the Aston Martin. The Aston Martin hype train is still going strong, especially seeing as how they are a Mercedes customer and they beat out Mercedes, which... Mercedes maybe needs to look into their philosophy and change that. But there were some things going on. I mean, Fernando Alonso gave so much drama to this race. He had, at the very beginning, Stroll gave him a little love tap on the right rear. And I think it was so funny how he was asking the team who did it, and they were not going to tell him that it was his teammate and he didn't figure out until the cool down room when he saw the playback on the TV. I was going to
ask you that, because I don't know if you saw, like, at the end of the race, he went up to Stroll and was like, "You're my hero for driving with a broken wrist." And I was like, does this man know that that is who hit him earlier? I don't think he knew at that point.
I think it's definitely in his contract that his dad was like, "You have to tell Lance he's a great person every single day."
Oh my gosh.
I mean, like, Lance's dad owns Aston Martin. He's going to have a forever seat there. So if you're being paid to buy Aston Martin to be their driver, there's definitely like a little subscript in your contract that says must give Lance Stroll 2 compliments a day.
Yeah.
But no, Alonso and Hamilton went wheel to wheel, and we know that they don't have the best track record with being teammates. I believe they were teammates a while ago for McLaren, and they were known for not having the best teammate relationship. But it was great to see 2 of the greats kind of wheeling it out and battling. But also, talking about Lance Stroll, he drove with a broken wrist, and rumor that also one of his toes is broken too.
Nice.
I personally didn't think he would be racing, or he shouldn't have been racing at the beginning of the race, like before it all started. I was like, this is not going to go well for Aston Martin. He's going to end P19. Like,
Well, and if something would have happened, like God forbid if an accident were to happen and he were to like hurt it worse, he could be out for the season.
I mean, like, that's what I'm also worried about. Like, you strained your wrist that was broken like a couple weeks ago, and now you're out here doing a strenuous task of driving 57 laps and driving a Formula One car. Like, is this going to like further hurt his career or this season because he decided to like push it maybe too far? But I mean, like,
clearly not.
Clearly not.
How he plays.
Got into P6, so like he brought in the result. So
yeah, nothing too serious to worry about.
Yeah. So now going into Mercedes, you know, they are the, like, not retailer, but, you know, Aston Martin's their customer, like, team. And the Aston Martin was very, very fast, and Mercedes did not look very fast. So their whole thing right now is realizing maybe that their philosophy that they came out with last year, and they're like, we're going to make it work. We just need time. Yeah, they need to change everything.
I mean, just from what I've been following, like, I haven't seen any progress from them.
Yeah,
like,
everybody was like, it's Mercedes. Last year, when we saw them kind of not popping up very well, I was like, they're Mercedes, they'll catch up. And then they kind of just didn't. And it was like a solid battle between third and fourth for them last season. So, I mean, I hope that they'll catch up and that they'll change some things around, because I think it's just time that they let go on this whole philosophy thing and just get with the track, because they're the only car out there that looks like that.
Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing to have such like high profile racers that are like known to being like the greats, and then to not be performing to be getting outperformed by Aston Martin, which didn't they not do like fantastic last year?
I mean, they didn't do fantastic last year. Granted, they had Sebastian Vettel, so also one of the greats racing for them. But I mean, they just got it right this year, and Mercedes just don't have it. I mean, you look at Lewis Hamilton; he's got multiple world driver championships under his belt. You've got George, who will 100% win at least one in his future. If it's with Mercedes, you know, you got to hope that maybe they get their act together and it will happen for him. But I mean, they've got great drivers under their belt, and it's just not the car that's needed for them. So on to other disastrous teams. McLaren. So
boy, oh boy.
Yeah, didn't do well in testing, didn't do well in the race.
They're also not doing well socially. Everyone hates them for what they did to Danny. Like, I'm new to Formula One, and even I know that that's like a thing. Like, I've also been, since we've started our podcast, getting messages about like, oh, are you guys gonna address what happened with Danny, and that like McLaren did him so dirty and now they're doing poorly. Like, do you think it's karma?
Oh yeah, I heard I heard someone saying McLaren's gonna be listening to Karma by Taylor Swift. I mean, I've never been a huge McLaren fan, and then when Danny moved, I was like, okay, I'm a huge Danny Ricciardo like fan, so I will support them. But when I found out about the whole Piastri and Danny thing, it put a sour taste kind of in their season, and for me rooting for them. But yeah, didn't do well in testing, didn't do well in the race. Piastri DNF'd. Norris had a bunch of weird pit stops. I mean, like, I think we were maybe like a couple, what was it, maybe like 20 laps into the race, and he had already pit twice, which is very odd. So my question is, you don't know a lot about it. What do you think is going to happen to them this season? I mean, they haven't won in a long time, and they've got good drivers, but like,
I don't think they're going to win now.
They're definitely not going to win. But I think if they hopefully get their act together, like all the other teams that need to get their act together.
I mean, I think that besides having good drivers and like the car and everything, they've kind of done themselves a disservice, like fan-wise, And when you're lacking that support and you're struggling, it can't be a comfortable place to be. Like, I know McLaren is, like, stressing right now. They have to be.
Yeah, definitely.
That was not a good performance.
I feel like lately they've had a lot of focus on, like, other forms of racing. I mean, Zach Bryan is the CEO, but he's almost in the sense of almost kind of like a team principal, even though he's not. Andreas Stella is their team principal, but I mean, like, Zach Brown isn't putting most of his time and effort, I believe, into Formula One. He's at a lot of Indy car races, and I know they're doing well there, but, like, Formula One is the peak pinnacle of motorsport.
That is a hot take.
I personally think it's the pinnacle of motorsport. If you've got a good team with a huge history, why aren't you putting all your efforts into making Formula One work?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, hopefully this is like a wake-up call for them and they're able to iron this stuff out. I mean, it is the first race of the season, but I don't really know what the, like, rules and regulations are about, like, changing your car. Isn't that like a penalty?
No. I mean, Mercedes have a different car and a different setup that they're probably going to be putting into place in the next couple races. I mean, over the season you bring up upgrades and through, like, testing in the wind tunnel and stuff like that. I don't think they're going to have to redo their whole car design. I think maybe it just has a lot to do with a lot of engineering and a lot of, like, mechanical issues, which is what I believe Norris's pit stops were about, was a mechanical issue. I also think Piastri's was a mechanical issue.
Can we go over that too? What does DNF mean?
Oh, okay. So DNF means did not finish.
Okay.
So that's, you'll be seeing that around, like, different websites and stuff. DNF is just did not finish the race.
And was it because of, like, mechanical issues?
I believe it was mechanical issues. I mean, that's normally what
would cause someone
DNFs are about normally, so yeah. Also, they did not do well at the beginning of the season in the 2022 season. Testing was not good, and also their first race was not good, and eventually they kind of started to get on track until they didn't, and then they just kind of, like,
leveled out.
Yeah. So, who knows what it's going to be this year. But so on to the next team, Alpine. They had a whirlwind of a race as well. Pierre Gasly got points. I believe it was 2. He ended from 20th to P9, which I think it was around 11 overtakes he had. He had the most overtakes of the race. It was a good race for him. Ocon, on the other hand, the stewards woke up and chose violence towards Ocon. Poor guy.
Which I was telling Elena, I think that it's very funny. Like, don't hate me. Don't cancel me. I think that it's very funny that things like stewards, words like that are in this, like, racing scene. I think it's just a little bit funny. I think it sounds silly. Very formal and royal European racing.
Last night we were talking about this, and she's like, why use the word stewards? And I said, I don't know. It is Europe.
It's just a little silly.
Us here in America use the word judges. I told her, the stewards kind of, like, in this big room, and they kind of overlook the entire race, and they've got multiple screens going on, and that the stewards change each race. Like, they kind of rotate to make sure there's no bias, and basically they just look over the race, see if there's been any infractions, and then accordingly hand out penalties, which they gave Ocon, I believe, a total of 3 penalties. So yeah,
which is kind of unfortunate because I want to, like, root for him.
I mean, like, he
seems like a nice guy.
No, yeah, like, I honestly thought Ocon and Gasly, they're known to not being the best of friends in the past. Listen, things could have changed. They could have had a little reconciliation, decided to put the past in the past. But Ocon is known for being a little touchy on the track. Yeah. I mean, he's known for battling his teammates with Perez, with Alonso last year. He got into a couple things with him, and seeing as how Gasly and Ocon don't have a great past, I definitely 100% think or thought maybe this year they'll have a couple interactions on track, and maybe the team will have to step in. But yeah, Ocon did DNF around lap 41 after his third penalty, but I think he had a mechanical issue. So yeah, we'll go over Ocon in a minute.
But I mean, I would expect that, for the mechanical issues and things to be showing up on this first race. But
yeah, this first race is definitely when you see which teams have reliability issues, and we'll get into reliability issues in a minute as well. So yeah, before
we get into that, let's talk about my personal favorite, Logan Sargent. Listen, he's from Fort Lauderdale, and Florida in general, especially southern Florida, racing is our thing. You go to South Florida, you're gonna see tons of fast cars. There's a lot of money there. In Lauderdale especially, there's money there. And so when I saw that he was from Fort Lauderdale and he was racing as an American driver, I was like, yep, this is who we're rooting for. And everyone was like, oh, Ariana, what are you talking about? You can't just listen. He recreated the Top Gun volleyball scene, and I was already sold. You didn't need to sell me more. I was already sold. But people were telling me oh, it's his first year, blah, blah, blah. He finished well.
He did. He went from, oh, crap.
Oh, I know this. Wait, do I know it? I think he finished from, I want to say...
I think it was P16 to
I was
P12.
16. I think it was 16 to 12.
He went from P16 to P12. And I mean, he had a very good race. He looked very pacey in a Williams, who... Williams have been notoriously known with Haas being at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
I mean, you missed out on the whole Latifi memes of last season with Williams. Alex Albon is a great driver. He outperforms in that Williams quite often, and Latifi just crashes quite a bit. So sad to see him gone, but at the same time I think they replaced him with someone much better.
Yeah.
Someone who, don't want to be mean, but someone who knows how to drive a Formula One car.
Oh.
So, I mean, I'm hoping that he will only go up from here. It was a great drive. It was good pace from both the drivers. Alex Albon finished in the points. He finished P10. So Williams has a point going into the season, which I know that they'll be very happy to see.
He was close. Listen,
he was close.
2 spots away.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, now on to reliability issues. My team definitely almost cried while actually watching this race.
You should have seen the memes.
Ferrari had a DNF from my favorite driver, Charles Leclerc. I almost cried.
Almost crying is crazy. That's some investment. But correct me if I'm wrong, this isn't Ferrari's first run around whatever problem.
They're known for having some reliability issues. I mean, last year at Bahrain, they won.
Yeah.
2.
He won first, right?
Yes. Charles Leclerc and then Carlos Sainz second. And Red Bull was the one who DNF'd. So,
interesting.
Yeah, Leclerc had a DNF.
Oh, how the tables have turned.
Yeah. His energy restore turned off. So basically at the beginning of the race, before the race, they replaced one of the energy restores, which you only get about 2 of those a year. And they had switched it out before the race, so it didn't count as a penalty switch or something. But now that his thing just kind of turned off and maybe broken, he'll probably be getting a penalty coming soon when they have to replace it.
Sheesh.
But also as a Ferrari fan, I may be thinking way too deep into this, but there's a thing called the Bahrain curse.
Oh my gosh.
Since, I believe, 2015 or 2016, whoever had won the Bahrain race did not win the world championship.
So you think Max Verstappen?
I I pray
I hope
that Max Verstappen will not win because he won this race.
Listen, I may not know much about Formula One, but what I do know is that I do not like Max Verstappen. That's all I have to say about that.
I told her she can't say more, because if she did...
Maybe we'll get into that someday, but not today. Not on the first episode.
No, not on the first episode. Ferrari also had a lot of problems with their tire degradation, which has just been a problem for them in the past couple years. I mean, that was a whole thing about last season, complaining about tire degradation and tire strategies. And towards the last half of the season, they were really mainly focusing on tire degradation and making sure that they can finish a race and finish well. It was, I believe, Carlos Sainz actually had a team radio where he was talking about how he couldn't go any faster or else he wasn't going to be able to finish the race. So,
yikes.
Yeah, not good. But I also saw another funny meme that said, New Year, same Ferrari.
I saw that too.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. But also, I mean, at the beginning of the race, it was looking well. Charles Leclerc was very pacey, way more than Sainz. I think at one point, Sainz was 10 seconds behind him. So, I mean, that's not seeming to change. Leclerc was much pacier last season than Carlos. But, who knows? It's just the beginning of the year.
Yeah, we're just getting started.
We have 22 more races.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that everything will go well for Ferrari.
I'm just hoping to see Williams on the up and up. You want to root for the underdog. And that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, I saw someone also talking about how McLaren and Williams may flip. So it may be like McLaren is down at the bottom of the barrel, and Williams is going to be, an actual midfield contender this season. So who knows? It may just go back into its natural pecking order once a couple races are under the team's belts. There are no new regulations. It's the same regulations that got changed as last season. So I'm just wondering what's happening with McLaren and Mercedes and Ferrari, and how sad that all is, but I'm happy for Williams, and I'm happy to see that they're on the up and up as of late. So yeah. Now on to Red Bull. I am not a Red Bull fan. You're not a Red Bull fan.
Listen, I really want to be. I drink a lot of Red Bull. Elena drinks a lot of Red Bull. Our friend group, in particular, drinks an excessive amount of Red Bull.
We're college students, so that's a given.
Yeah, I like their car color, little design.
Their livery.
Okay, well whatever she said. Yep, it's cute. I think it's cute, and I want to support them just because I'm like, yes, we like Red Bull, but they just keep doing stuff that makes me not like them.
I will say this, a lot of her dislike comes just from Drive to Survive. So I told her this. No. I told her this going into watching Drive to Survive. Netflix likes to dramatize a lot of things, and over the years they've gotten a lot of blowback and a lot of hate because of how they've perceived some drivers, like Danny and Lando in I believe it was the season 4 or season 3. I mean, like, they weren't as harsh as Netflix had perceived them to be. It's like it kind of showed them having like a little bit of a rough relationship, but they were fine. Also, Max Verstappen did not get the best reputation from, I believe it was the first season, and which was why he decided to not participate until season 5, because he got a lot of hate for being perceived the wrong way, which I believe you just took that and ran.
Listen, guys. It's just the vibe that he gives me. Like, I'm taking everything with a grain of salt. And at the end of the day, they're not out there to be nice, upstanding gentlemen. They're there to win some races. So, and he's doing that.
Yeah.
Can't be mad at him.
So, yeah, going back to winning races, Red Bull looked ominous in testing. They still look ominous as of now. Red Bull 1-2 pole, Red Bull 1-2 win. I mean, I heard people talking about how there's a chance that they could win all 23 races.
That's crazy.
Probably very unlikely to happen, but if you put reliability aside, if you put away the fact that some things just break, if you just look at their car and you just look at their pace and you just look at their drivers, 100%.
They've got a good thing
Red Bull
going.
could win every single race.
That wouldn't exactly surprise me. They've got it figured out.
Yeah.
They're doing what McLaren, not McLaren, they're doing what Mercedes needs to start doing.
It seems that we had a Mercedes kind of like season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they won the constructor championship title for 7 or 8 years in a row.
Yeah.
I think it may be Red Bull's time to come in and just
clean house
for multiple years in a row. I mean, you always hope that it will be an interesting season by having 1, 2, 3 different constructors fighting for the title. But at this point, Red Bull looks like they've just got it in the bag. But there are some things to consider. They did go over the budget cost cap last season.
Yikes.
And so they did win first. So not only did they have a limited amount of wind tunnel time for testing, their penalty for the cost cap also decided to limit their wind tunnel time. So they have even less than they would have if they had just won. So who knows, maybe teams will upgrade and figure out their cars more and catch up, and then Red Bull won't be able to because they can't test. Who knows? It's the beginning of the season, like we've said before, but
yeah, we'll see.
Max Verstappen is definitely the best driver currently on the track, probably. I mean, he's got 2 consecutive driver championships under his belt. He's in by far the best car on the track.
He's all right. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Listen, I am not a Max fan girl. Like, I'm not a fanboy. I have been very vocal to family and friends only, but I'm not his biggest fan. I was definitely a Lewis supporter in the 21 Hamilton versus Verstappen season, but I mean, putting emotion aside, best driver on the grid, as sad as that is to say, my Leclerc heart breaks a little when I say that, but putting emotion aside, I believe that they have a very, very high likely chance of winning this year.
I mean, that kind of goes into how our predictions laid out too, because if you look at Elena's, you can see she placed Verstappen first. But before we begin, I would like to preface this by saying that I've only read these names and I've heard them like a few times. I haven't said them aloud. So I think we're going to begin with me reciting the names. So feel free to judge me all you want, because this is not going to be good.
Oh yeah, I heard her try to at least say one of their last names. And I had a laughing fit, I think, for 5 minutes of just her trying to say one of these names.
Listen, they're hard, and I think I might be mildly dyslexic. So,
so she's going to be reading the Bahrain race results, and then we'll be going over our predictions on what we said. So,
okay.
Number one,
Verstappen.
Correct.
Yeah. Number 2, Perez.
Correct.
And number 3, Alonso.
Yes.
Number 4, Sainz.
Nope.
Sainz. I got it the second time. 5, Hamilton. 6, Stroll. 7, Russell. 8. Listen, guys. This is one of the ones I struggle with. Bottas. Yeah. Number 9, Gasly. 10, Albon. Okay. 11. Sonoda.
Yeah. Sonoda.
Okay. 12, Sargent. Go America. 13, Magnussen?
No.
I'm trying, guys.
Magnussen. Yeah.
14. De Vries.
Like debris?
Yes.
De Vries.
15. Hulkenberg. 16. Oh. Wait, no, I don't know. Guan Yu?
Yeah.
Oh,
Guan
period.
Yu.
17. Norris. Now, for the people who did not finish. Ocon. Leclerc. Piastri. That's the results, guys.
She said this last night, and she said pastry.
Because my phone corrects it to pastry. I'm trying. That's all I gotta say.
You're trying your best.
We got pretty close in our predictions. You can see those on our Instagram page. We're at Shift Happens F1. Everything. Well, not every. I mean, I think mine were closer than Elena's. Fun fact, which maybe I should buy a lottery ticket because that I completely made that up.
She says that her results are close, and they're not.
They are pretty close, within a space or two, except for the bottom.
So I said that Verstappen would win. So if we're calling for points, I get a point.
Yeah, you had the most actually correct. You had 3. I only had 1.
Yeah, if we did a little point system about how many ones we get right each race, I get 3 to your 1.
Okay, we'll see, guys. We'll keep you posted on that one.
So we'll just say top 10. I said Verstappen, Leclerc, Perez, Hamilton, Sainz, Alonso, Russell, Bottas, Magnussen, and Hulkenberg.
Okay, for my top 10, I said Leclerc, which we know how that went. Yeah, no wonder I didn't get the point. Whose fault is that?
Don't look at me.
He won the race last time, so I was just kind of going off of that. Then Verstappen's up there just because, unfortunately, he likes to be up there. Sainz, I had as 3rd. Hamilton, Perez, Alonso, Russell, Stroll, Bottas, Magnussen, and that's it.
Yeah, she got 1, and she correctly chose Russell to be P7 as well as did I.
Nice.
So,
but listen, guys, in that top 10, I got 4 that were within a place of each other. So, hey, I had the right idea.
Yeah, you did have the right idea. I mean, she definitely guessed a lot of people who she was 1 or 2 off. Which, I mean, looking at it, you kind of got, the pecking order right, but at the same time, you didn't. So, I mean, me either. I mean, looking at this now, seeing anyone who kind of surprised me, Haas, I thought would be in the points. Honestly, if we're looking at it, I thought Haas was going to be P9, P10, and they were P13 and P15. I was surprised Hulkenberg wasn't higher. He's known for being a very good midfield driver, known for getting points, not a podium.
I put him low. Is that the one who has a mustache?
I believe he has a mustache, yes.
I'm a fan of mustaches. That's all I got to say about that.
I feel like that's putting it lightly.
That's true. Big fan.
Big fan of mustaches.
Big fan. But if we're talking about this point system now of who's got the most right, and Elena's at 3 and I'm at 1, let's talk about the points the teams acquired. Red Bull. My lord. This is crazy. I could cry.
They are leading the pack at 43 points.
That is impressive.
After this race. Yeah.
But Aston Martin.
Yeah. Aston Martin is at P2 with 23 points, so they're 20 points off.
Which, let me clarify too. Is it Aston Martin or Austin Martin?
I say Aston Martin.
I feel like I've said Austin Martin for most of my life.
Honestly, it's up to your interpretation.
Tomato.
Sometimes they're just very wrong ways of saying names, as we found out earlier from you.
Listen.
But I believe that's just kind of up to your phonetics and how you talk.
Yeah.
Coming behind them, Mercedes, 16. So they're, what, 7 points off of Aston Martin?
Yeah, did we say their points? Aston Martin had 23.
Yeah.
Did we say that? Yeah.
Yes, we did.
And Ferrari at 12. I mean, pretty okay considering the events of that race.
Well, I mean, that's just Carlos Sainz.
I know.
So, yeah. For DNFing, Carlos Sainz ended up well, got points for the team. Glad to see it happen. After that, we have Alfa Romeo, which also is a customer of Ferrari. So, yeah, they got 4 points. I believe it was Bottas who got those points in 8th, which, go Bottas. He always seems to do really well at the beginning of seasons and races and then kind of falls off. But I have a special place for Alfa Romeo in my heart. If you asked me why, I couldn't tell you. But I just seem to like them as a team. After them is Alpine with 2 points from Pierre Gasly's P9, I believe, yes. And then after them in 7th is Williams with a point from Alex
Go
Albon.
Williams.
Yes, I'm glad to see that they've started the season off with a point.
It's good.
Then in 8th, AlphaTauri. Haven't talked much about them this race.
What is there to say?
They
didn't really stick out to me. They're just kind of there. We'll see as the season plays out.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not a huge fan of their car livery.
I agree with that.
I believe that their last year's car livery was, like, beautiful. And then they messed around with it.
Listen.
Orlen pays them a lot of money. So if you're paying a team a lot of money, you're going to want your logo on the side of the car, and you're going to want your logo to look how you want it to look. So Orlen wanted that red on the car. They got to put red on the car. I don't like it, but I don't get a choice in it.
I personally, now, don't fact check this because there's no factual basis of what I'm about to say. I believe that if your car is cute, it adds like 5 horsepower in any aspect of your life. In every car. If you have a cute car, it's like plus 5 horsepower. Like,
oh my gosh.
And so if you don't have a cute car, you should maybe work on that because that's unfortunate. Because who wants to be driving an ugly car?
Well, I mean, like, then we could talk about the next person on this list. In 9th place, Haas. Their car is good looking.
Yeah, their car is cute. I don't know what happened.
I like their car.
You had the idea, you just needed the platform. That's what it was at the end of the day.
Yeah, Haas is comically known for being last along with Williams.
Unfortunate.
I mean, they're the only American team on the grid. Go America. Go Logie Sarge. But, I mean, there was hope last year. I feel like there's always, like, a sliver of hope. They come out with, like, a banger car design, a banger livery, or, you know, you decide to sign on to your team, the son of Michael Schumacher, and then it just doesn't turn out how you want it to turn out.
Lordy, Lord.
But no, after that, in 10th place is McLaren with also 0 points. I feel like
karma.
I feel like we've said all we need to say on McLaren. Also, actually, you know what? I want to add on a point. So their car livery, it's great and all, kind of doing the same thing that they did last year, that like orange and blue. I want to talk about their, like, one of their car advertisements is like this weird, like, computerized invisible ink logo. So on the side, maybe if you're watching from a driver's point of view, you can see, like, it's this black strip, and then, like, over time, like, it's like a time thing. It'll, like, say Chrome, and then, like, it'll disappear, and then it'll say, like, another logo. I think that they spent all of their time and money on these advertisements and no time on the car engine. So maybe they also need to go and take a look at their philosophy and rebrand. But no, yeah. So yeah, that was it for our predictions. And now on to topic 3, Ariana's questions.
Listen, guys. From knowing nothing about Formula One to starting a podcast about it, I have a lot of questions. There's a lot I don't know. So, the first one being, we saw some flags on this race, and I was like, what is going on? Because I think the only experience I have with flags is, like, football. Not like flag football, but, like, penalties.
And she means American football.
Yeah, American football.
American football. So, you want to know what all the flags are for?
Yeah.
I asked her to give me some of these questions because I knew that a lot of the questions she was probably going to ask me, I couldn't be able to correctly address without some basic research, because I've learned just over time of watching all these races. But to start off, a yellow flag. We did see a yellow flag during the race. So I believe there are two, single flag and a double. So a single just means that there's something wrong on the track. Either a car went off the road and is off the side of the track, so it's not on the track. It means that in a certain area of the track, overtaking is suspended and that there is a speed reducer. The cars cannot go full out in that area until they get out. I also believe that DRS is suspended in that area as well, which DRS means drag reduction system.
Okay.
So we'll get over those in a minute. Now, a double yellow flag means overtaking is suspended and speed is reduced, I believe, by around 35%. Normally, if there's a double yellow flag, it means that there's something on the track, something has kind of gone wrong, and normally following a double yellow flag is like a virtual safety car or a safety car, which you didn't see during this race.
Okay.
Following yellow is red. So red just basically means the session is suspended until further notice. Pretty easy. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, red means stop.
Yeah, red means stop.
Yeah.
Stop the session.
Can I also point out, this is kind of unrelated. I think that it's funny that in, like, Formula 1, the lights go out, right? Like, the lights are on and they're out, which is my only knowledge is on, like, drag racing down a straight line. And when you line up to drag race and you're in, like, the staging lanes, the lights come on, and when the lights go green, you go. So I was like, the lights are going out and then you go. This is so funny.
Yeah, I went to a drag racing event with Ariana recently, and it was really funny because there was a whole thing about the lights and how once they go out, you got to test your reaction time. Mm-hmm. It's basically literally the same thing in Formula 1.
Yeah, it's the same, just like flipped.
Yeah, so as drag racing, the lights are vertical and they go down, but in Formula 1, they are horizontal and they go left to right,
and they go
they turn off either left to right or right to left. I don't know which one.
I'm also directionally challenged. I will tell you that right now. Knowing my left to right is a struggle that I'm working on.
She can't even do the whole two L's.
This is why I'm saying I think that I might be like mildly dyslexic, because they both look like L's. That doesn't help me.
Okay,
back to the flags.
Off this, blue. So basically, you won't see blues very often on television. They won't pop up on your TV screen or like from the production stand of view. Blue flags are really for the drivers. They are for the slower drivers at the bottom of the list. When you're getting lapped by a faster car.
That's so embarrassing. That is so embarrassing.
Yeah, so a blue flag is to let a driver know that they are about to be lapped and that they need to slow down, not fight with them, and let them come through. Basically, that's just what it's going to say. And if you don't get out of their way, you will get a warning, which I believe is a black and white flag, but we'll talk about the black and white flag in a minute. After that is red and yellow. I have never really seen this flag before. I don't know if it's just like because it also it's really just for the drivers.
Yeah.
The ones that are the most important to us are yellow, red, the checkered flag as well.
Which I know the checkered flag.
Everybody knows the checkered flag. So, yeah, onto red and yellow. It just basically means that there's some debris on the track. Water, oil spill, a small animal.
Yikes.
Basically, It's kind of just to let the drivers know that there's something on the track, so they need to be extra cautious as they're driving. After that is the black and orange. So basically this flag is just a black base, and then in the middle it's just an orange circle.
Nice.
So basically a black and orange flag will be given to a driver if they or their car is a danger to others on track. Basically, say you got into a little scuffle on the track and you've got a piece of your car that's like hanging off.
Nice.
You'll be given, if it's a very like, hey, this could actually harm somebody, you'll be given the flag and you must return to the pits immediately to fix it. This happened a couple times last season after like a little bit of scuffles. A couple of drivers got it. You basically just have to return because you are a danger not only to yourself but to others on the track. Either you were damaged or your car was damaged. So after black and orange, you've just got the black flag. Basically, if a driver gets this, they've been disqualified from the race. Get off the track, basically, is what they're saying.
Yikes.
No one ever really gets this flag. Literally no one ever.
Maybe we're going to see it this season.
Yeah, normally black comes after if you ignore blue flags or if you also ignore a black and orange flag. So if the stewards or not the stewards. If the marshals out on the track are giving you a blue flag, and
The marshals.
Like, listen, we love marshals. They do an amazing job, and they help races happen.
Go marshals.
They clean up the track if, like, there's been a wreck.
Well, that's nice. I just think they have a funny name.
Yeah. We like marshals. But basically, if you ignore a blue flag, they've given it to you multiple times that you're not moving out of their way, and the stewards are like, yeah, maybe they're not paying attention. Maybe they're not doing something right. They're a danger.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We're going to black flag
Isn't that what Alonso said?
Yeah.
When he passed, who did he pass? The Red Bull guy?
I don't remember who he said, but it was like, okay, bye-bye.
Yes, bye-bye.
Yeah, it was great. But after that, yeah, no one ever really gets a black flag. There's been talks about it happening, but like I believe it's only happened a couple times, and it's like a long time ago. But after that is black and white. So black and white flag is a warning flag given to a driver for unsportsmanlike behaviors. So like if you're purposely being aggressive and like seeking out fights, not just like being aggressive in your driving and like wanting to get ahead, you'll be given a black and white flag for unsportsmanlike behavior and conduct. And then after that, also a black and white flag.
The checkered flag.
Yes, checkered flags. So basically just means the race in the session is complete and over.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty much an easy way of saying all of that. You'll, like I said, a lot of these flags you will never see in your life. Like I've never seen a red and yellow flag, but they come around, they happen, and they're important to the race.
And I think this is going to be my last question for this episode. Just that I was quite confused when I was watching the race with what was going on with Ocon.
Yes, Ocon.
Yeah, Ocon. Because I saw the flag and I saw that he like not serve his time right.
Yeah,
or
so
something. Like I was so confused.
There was a lot that went on. So basically, his first penalty was given to him by the stewards because when they were lining up after the formation lap, his right front tire was out of the grid spot.
Oh.
So do you remember looking at the grid spots?
Yeah, I know what it looks like.
Yeah. So basically, the grid spot, you have to stay in it. His right front tire was out. So that's a big no-no. So they gave him a 5-second time penalty. So after he received his time penalty, he went in to go serve it during the pit stop. That's what a lot of people will do instead of just, why would you just go in and serve it when you can serve it consecutively with a pit stop? Saves time. As he does it, you have to wait 5 seconds before a mechanic can work on your car. Like exactly 5 seconds. A mechanic decided to start working on his car 0.4 seconds early.
Amen. That is so dramatic.
0.4 of a second early. Therefore, the stewards then decided to give him a 10-second time penalty.
That's crazy. That's a crazy.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, that happened for him. And then, after that, the stewards decided to give him a third penalty because it was a 5-second time penalty. The third one was he was speeding in the pit lane. I believe this was either after he had just served his one or when he was coming in to serve it.
I would just park my car. I would just be like, you know what? We'll get him next time.
Well, I mean, like, that kind of happened.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
But he was speeding by 0.1
Listen,
kph.
let me tell you guys. All this big deal about speeding, if it is by a marginal amount, is it really that serious?
Well, it's a safety issue. It's a safety issue. You're allowed to go max 80 kilometers per hour in the pit lanes. He went 0.1 over. Now, do you think it's stupid? Yeah. But unfortunately, it happened, and before he could serve his 15-second time penalty around lap 41, he had a mechanical issue and DNF'd.
Yes.
So he didn't end up having to serve that time penalty because he just finished the race early. He decided to retire that car.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. But the last time that someone got 3 time penalties in a race was in 2015 in the Hungary Grand Prix with Maldonado. So this hasn't happened in a long time.
Just throw the whole car away. Start over.
So, yeah. But, all right. I think that's the end of this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. It was the first one, so we're definitely getting our bearings and kind of going through it all. But I really enjoyed doing this, and I enjoyed watching the race and getting to talk about it with Ariana. And I hope you guys really enjoyed it.
Yes, thank you for listening, and tune in next time to hear us talk about the next race and any other drama that might unfold this racing season, and to hear me ask more questions.
Yeah, the next race is in Saudi Arabia, I believe, in 2 weeks. So catch us then, and make sure to go follow our Twitter, and make sure to also follow our Instagram at ShiftHappensF1. Bye.
Bye.